What's up everyone, it's Iceman Oz, aka Jay, and today we have got some more possible Battlefield 2143 information. Now, if you haven't seen the previous Battlefield 2143 video, I will leave a link on screen and in the description below. It pretty much depicts a game tester who is discussing his experiences with the next Battlefield game coming in 2016. He did a summer test and he gave away some information regarding Levolution and the game features. Well, Jonathan, who is the guy who originally gave me the email about that, who has connections to game leakers supposedly, and there is proof of that because he was correct about the Black Ops 3 information, so there is some legitimacy to this. But getting to the point of this video, there is a new email with new information on the next Battlefield game. So if we're going to presume that the last one was true, this will also be true. Be sure to keep in mind though that this is speculation, as there is no confirmed proof. It's not a confirmed source, it's just an email. One other thing to note as well is that Jonathan wasn't originally going to give me this because he said to me that it would be picking and choosing YouTubers in terms of giving this information. He thought that if I would receive the information again, it would seem a bit dodgy, but I said to him pretty much, hey, just give me it. I want to make it for my audience. My subs want to see it, and everyone wants to see it, and I don't really think it matters who he gives it to, and if the information is given to me or anyone else, it doesn't actually change the legitimacy of it. So with all of that being said, with all of that out the way, let's get into the information we have at hand. So let's start off with the email. So let's get started on this, shall we? Jonathan says, this leak is yet from another source, which sadly I cannot confirm, but the fact that the leaks line up almost perfectly is making me believe that the original 2143 leak is more and more accurate. Now, the reason he can't confirm it is because if he says who the leaker is, then those guys will no longer be game testers. Here it is. I've tested the game, which I tested back in the summer of 2015. Now, take into account what I tested was in extremely prototype stages, with either blank or placeholder textures. Most placeholder textures were BF4 and BFH. The game that I tested was in a state of development that honestly could make it to the point where they could easily have scrapped it and created a new idea. I remember specifically hearing that DICE was working with EA to pick a time setting that all players would enjoy, but that DICE told us, the playtesters, that they wanted to do a 2143. Map-wise, they have a lot more time into creating a proper flow. One map which featured a randomized skyscraper Levolution similar to that Siege of Shanghai concept. Now, the email goes on to talk about specifics and whatnot, but the one thing that stood out to me was Titan Assault Large, which is mentioned again. Operation Whiteout-esque map. This is the same thing that was mentioned before in the previous email. And just generally scoping over it, it seems that a lot of what we heard before is also reiterated into this. It then goes on to say, now that all this info is out of the way, I should iterate that a Battlefield game is not complete without a new or reimagined mode, and Fleet Assault Large does this. Imagine 3 Titans per team flying through the sky fighting it out. Many smaller ships and attack vehicles were able to fight in. The map takes place in high clouds close to sub-orbit. The sub-orbit environment affected soldier speed slightly, and the high cloud environment was a violent rainy storm type area. And it looks beautiful in Frostbite 3. Now that's quite interesting. How would it look so beautiful in Frostbite 3 if the textures weren't completed? That to me sounds a little bit iffy. Let's continue. Fleet Assault Large was the most textured mode, as the Titans and Jets had textures. Okay, well that answers my query. The clouds, rain, and lightning effects in the battle also had texture. Is an interesting mode that gives commanders on each team as much as 3 a new purpose. They have access to Titan controls, which personally was extremely fun. Also, Titan crashing animation is choppy for now, but fun to watch. Onto soldiers, it is Battlefield 4 BFH 2142, so not much has changed. Guns include some sort of M4 and a super good looking Deagle 44, 2143 edition with all that future jazzy textures. No jetpacks were available, no advanced movement was available. I was on my feet the whole time, unless you people consider jetcopters to be quote-unquote too extreme. Vehicles were basically placeholder texture for BF4, except for the VTOL Jetlocopters. Okay, I don't know what that is. I expect the textures to change at launch if this concept went through. Finally, the Xbox exclusivity. that other leakers made up. I have no idea where he came up with that, to my knowledge. No exclusivity was discussed. The DLC plan was discussed to be 5 to 6 DLC packs with 4 maps each. Extended DICE LA support and CTE are planned. Campaign was briefly mentioned, but they only briefly said it as a surprise. DICE Stockholm also had playtesters at a game called 1944, and something designed as a spiritual successor to BC3, so DICE definitely was probing new ideas. Another last thing to note is, despite no discussion on Xbox One deal, we played on Xbox Ones and PCs only. The game is not planned for the last generation. As DICE explained, they will be pushing both Frostbite 3 and the current gen consoles to the limits graphically and power-wise. So there it is, a lot to take from that. Is it real? Is it not? I definitely recommend that, again, you take it with a grain of salt because it is not a confirmed source, but the amount of detail that goes into this and the reiteration from the previous email that was leaked, it does seem to be quite interesting. The other thing was that it got cleared up about the Xbox One deal. Now, I don't know if the previous leak was lying about that. Who knows? But I think what happened was, with this email, was that this leaker in particular saw how I made the previous video about it, and maybe they wanted to give some information themselves, so there you go, it's out there. Who knows if it's true or not? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Like it did say in the email, things can change as things go along. Again, we'll just have to wait and see. I'd like to thank Yonti for this information. He's the one who has the connection to the leakers, who he then gives the information to me, forwards it to me, which I, in turn, make these videos. But with that being said, let me know in the comments section below what you guys think about this, but hopefully enjoyed this video. And if you did, please like, share, subscribe, and peace.